Welcome in. Today we're doing a deep dive into, well, a world of heroes and villains and uh, billion-dollar box office hauls. We're talking about the MCU.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Exactly. And you've given us some really fascinating stuff to dig into here, all about how it became such a global phenomenon.
Yeah, it really is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, you
Yeah.
think about Marvel Studios, they had to sell off their characters' film rights just to, keep the lights on, and now...
Now they're this colossal force in entertainment.
Exactly.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you really think about it. I mean, everyone knows the MCU is huge, but to go from those early days to a franchise with, what, over 30 films? Raking in almost $30 billion, that's a superhero-sized glow-up.
It really is. And to understand how we got here, how they achieved this level of success, we kind of have to rewind a little bit, go back to the beginning.
Okay, so we're talking, what, like 2008?
hmm
Before Robert Downey Jr. became Iron Man.
Exactly. Before Iron Man, before the Avengers, even before the idea of a shared universe was really on the table, Marvel was taking a massive gamble, starting their own studio.
Which is crazy to think about. Iron Man kicked off this whole thing.
It did. And Iron Man, he wasn't exactly, Spider-Man. He wasn't this A-list character that everyone already knew. So it was a risk.
It was a huge risk. I mean, why Iron Man? What made them choose him?
I think it was a calculated risk. Iron Man, he had potential. He was a flawed hero. He had this cool suit. There was a lot of potential for action. But it was also a chance for Marvel to kind of do something different. Remember those early 2000s superhero films?
Like X-Men, Spider-Man.
Exactly. They were successful, but they were successful in a different way. Marvel, I think they saw an opportunity to tell more interconnected stories, to create a whole universe rather than just standalone films.
And that's a huge part of what makes the MCU so unique. This massive interconnected story that's playing out like over years and years. But before we get into all of that, can we talk about the Disney acquisition? Because it's almost impossible to imagine the MCU without Disney's influence, right?
It is hard to imagine, yeah. But it's really crucial to remember that the MCU's success, it wasn't a sure thing. Even after Iron Man, it wasn't a given. Disney acquisition in 2009, that was pivotal.
So it was a game changer in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. Yes, it brought a huge increase in resources, obviously. But more importantly, I think, Disney brought their expertise in global marketing, merchandising, theme parks, all of that.
It's like they took something that was already, pretty great and just strapped it to a rocket ship.
Right.
Suddenly, Marvel wasn't just a movie studio. It was everywhere. Toys, clothes, theme park rides, everything.
Exactly. And then there's Disney plus Wes, their streaming service. Another game changer. Because now the MCU wasn't confined to, just a couple of big budget movies every year. They could tell new stories, they could explore different characters, keep the fans engaged all year round.
Shows like WandaVision, Loki,
Yeah.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Exactly. All of that.
You know what's so mind-blowing about that? It's like they cracked the code. They figured out how to create a world that people don't want to just visit for 2 hours in a theater.
Yeah.
They want to live in it. And it's always there. It's constantly evolving. But you mentioned earlier the interconnected stories. That's where the whole shared universe thing comes in, right?
Right.
This isn't just a bunch of random superhero movies. It's one big story, and it's unfolding over multiple films.
Right. And that was a huge risk. I mean, that level of ambition, that scope, nobody had really attempted anything like that in Hollywood before. They were essentially betting on audiences wanting to follow this really complex web of storylines and characters to actually invest in a whole universe, not just one hero.
And they really did, though. Like, audiences were all in. It's like they understood that fans, especially fans of these characters, they crave that depth, those connections, those little moments that reward you for paying attention.
Exactly. And think about those little post-credit scenes. They've become a hallmark of the MCU. And those little teases, those Easter eggs, they weren't just for fun. They were very carefully crafted to keep people guessing, to build anticipation for the next chapter. It's storytelling on a whole other level.
It's easy to get lost in the spectacle of it all, right? The big explosions, the fight scenes, the crazy special effects. But the MCU's done something kind of amazing. They made these big, epic stories feel really personal.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we've seen these films go from those early, smaller scale stories. Like,
Yeah.
you think about the first Iron Man, the first Thor,
Right.
and then it's built up to these massive events like Infinity War and Endgame. Those movies had a global impact, and not just because of the spectacle.
Definitely not. It's like they tapped into something universal that people really connect with on like a deeper level.
Absolutely. The hero's journey, good versus evil sacrifice, These are all themes that we've seen in stories for centuries, but somehow the MCU makes them feel new again.
Fresh and, I don't know, relevant, like they matter.
Yes, exactly. And they've also become so much more inclusive in the process, which is incredible to see.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Black Panther, that wasn't just a blockbuster movie. It was a cultural phenomenon,
Yeah.
bringing African culture to the forefront. And it showed Hollywood that audiences crave that representation, stories that reflect the actual diversity of the world.
Right, it wasn't just Black Panther. Shang-Chi, Captain Marvel, even Eternals. These movies have all challenged what a superhero film can be.
Yeah, it's not just capes and tights anymore.
It's about characters grappling with these complex issues, internal struggles, the weight of their decisions,
Yeah.
you know?
Totally. And it's not even just the characters. They've really created these worlds that feel so immersive and believable, sometimes even beautiful. I mean, think about Thor.
Ragnarok.
Visually stunning. And then you have the gritty realism of Winter Soldier, and then the cosmic kind of wacky fun of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like each film is a portal to a completely different reality.
It is, and you can't forget about the action sequences. They're so well choreographed. It's like a dance.
Yeah, yeah. It's not just about showing things blowing up.
Right. It's about the characters' skills, their power, even their vulnerability.
And they managed to find that balance, that perfect blend of humor, action, and real heart. Because these characters, they're relatable, even though they have superpowers.
Yeah.
Even though they're fighting, intergalactic threats.
We connect with their struggles, their losses.
They feel real.
And that's a testament to the writing, the acting, but I think also an understanding of what makes a story work. You need a compelling hero, a good story, a world that feels both familiar and extraordinary. The MCU pulls it all together.
They really do. It's amazing. And even with all this success, they're not slowing down. They're pushing boundaries. They're taking risks, going in new directions.
It's true. The whole multiverse thing, that's not just a cool concept. It opens up infinite possibilities.
It's like, what if our heroes made different choices? What if history unfolded differently? The possibilities are endless.
Exactly. It's a level of experimentation and creativity that we haven't really seen before in a franchise like this.
And with Disney Plus, then, they're not limited to just those big blockbuster films anymore. They can tell smaller stories, different genres. They could even do animation. It's like a whole new world of storytelling opened up for them.
And for us, we're not just sitting back to watch a movie. We're part of this ongoing conversation, this constantly evolving universe. It's a really exciting time to be a fan.
It's pretty wild to think, like, where could they even go from here? It feels like they've done so much, but they've still only just, scratched the surface of what they can do with this universe.
That's part of what makes it so exciting, right? Like we were talking about the multiverse. That's not just some gimmick to throw in a movie.
All right.
It fundamentally changes what's possible.
It's infinite possibilities.
Exactly. It's like, what if our favorite heroes made different choices? What if the stories we know went in totally different directions? It's a whole new level of creative freedom, and we haven't really seen that before on this scale.
And with Disney Plus, then, it gives them a chance to tell those stories.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about, those 2-hour blockbusters anymore.
Right.
They can slow down. They can explore characters in a different way, different genres. It's wide open.
And I think it allows for a different kind of connection with the audience, too. It's not just passively watching a movie. We're part of this constantly evolving world. We get to watch it unfold in real time.
So as we wrap up our little deep dive here, what would you say is the biggest takeaway? What's the secret sauce behind the MCU becoming such a phenomenon?
I don't think there's one simple answer, but it's got to start with taking risks, understanding what the audience wants, and being willing to adapt, right? They haven't been afraid to experiment, to kind of push the boundaries of what a superhero story can even be.
Yeah, and they've done all of that while still staying true to those characters, to the heart of those stories.
Exactly. They've managed to create something that's both familiar and new and surprising all at the same time, which is really tough to do.
It really is. It makes you wonder, what's next? What stories are they going to tell? What heroes will we meet? What worlds will we get to explore? And I think that's what's so exciting about being, an MCU fan right now. There's so much potential.
Absolutely. It feels like we're in on something special.
It really does. And on that note, this has been our deep dive into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've talked about how it all started, this incredible journey to becoming this global phenomenon and where it might be headed. But now we want to hear from you. What are some of your favorite MCU moments? What storylines do you hope they explore? Let us know. And until next time, happy watching.